I hit 14 million points of damage in the Endor Speeder Bike Pursuit raid, and I did it using as few Relic 8 investments as I possibly could. Let me show you how. I've done so much driving on this Endor Speeder raid. It's unreal. I don't even have a license. I'm sure you are all by now very familiar with the new raid, the Endor Speeder Bike Pursuit raid. The rewards are phenomenal, guys, especially if you can at least hit that 424 mil box, which my guild is doing right now, which is absolutely phenomenal. But as you're aware, there are a couple of characters in this particular raid that are just not so great. I'm looking at you, Ewoks. I'm sorry, Gerbil dude, but Ewoks are still a no from me. Akbar, no. He's great in the raid, but no. He's got minimal use outside, so I wanted to look to get this 13.61 million personal reward box. Why, you might be asking yourself? Well, it's really very simple. If I want my guild to hit 665.6 million, 665.6 million, you divide that by 50 players within the guild, we need to hit 13.3 million points within this raid per player on average, okay? However, between this reward box and this reward box, there's nothing in the middle. We've got 9.92 million, or you've got 13.6. So I decided if I want to support my guild in going for the next crate of the rewards, I want to be hitting at least 13.61 million, so I can get that additional juicy Mark III raid tokens every week. These are super important, and you cannot understate how important these are. Over time, I know it only looks like, oh, it's just an additional 100, but it's 100 every week until this raid goes away. It adds up, guys. It adds up. Believe me. And of course, like I said, the other benefit is that you'll be able to help push your guild up to that 665 million. Now, a lot of you won't be interested in that, but there's still a lot of good learnings that you can take from this video about how to just hit the 424 box. Okay, for the 424 box, you only need about 8.5 million. Divide 424 by 50 players, 8.48 million is the average that you would need to hit. So I'd recommend going for that 8.75 million box just to get yourself that additional 100 Mark III currency. So you can use the guides that I'm putting out here, and you can just drop off a team or two and you'll still be able to hit that reward box. The 8.75 mil box is actually incredibly achievable without too much investment, and certainly without investing in teams that are too good. So now that we've gone over the whole diatribe of what to do and what not to do and why we want to be doing this, let's talk about the individual teams. And here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the 8 teams that I use to hit 14 million. That's what I got in the last raid, 14 million. I wanted that 13.7, so I'm actually overshooting here by about 300,000. And yes, I do remod and I do retry because I wanted to make sure I was hitting it, and I don't mind going through that. Now, I've got video guides for a lot of these teams out there. Please do check them out if you need some guidance. First and foremost, the best single investment that anybody can do is the Leia Organa solo run. This is great for many reasons. First of all, she's a galactic legend. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a galactic legend, and she's actually phenomenal. Getting Galactic Legend Leia Organa should be a high priority for many players. I'm not saying everybody needs to immediately go out and start farming out a Galactic Legend. Obviously, everything in turn, but if you want the best bang for your buck in this raid, she is it. She can solo for max points. Guide up in the top right corner. Next up, Admiral Piet and Han Solo. The reason I place these two so high is that they are both requirements for journey event unlocks. One of them, Piet, is used, I believe, in the Executor unlock, and Han Solo is used in, I believe, the Leia, or is it Jabba the Hutt? Jabba the Hutt unlock. Both of these are already R8, and you can get a very respectable 2.4 million. Again, I have a guide for that. You can actually go above 2.4, get about 2.5 if the RNG is really in your favor. But again, absolutely phenomenal team there. Han and Piet, yes, it does require a little bit of remodding, but thankfully all of the item teams, they call them Imperial Troopers, Evasion Mechanic teams, all operate on the very same sort of wavelength, okay? Next up, we've got Iden Versio and Captain Drogon. The reason I place these two really high is because Captain Drogon fits inside a Galactic Legend Leia team. You have to take him to Relic 7 anyway for Galactic Legend Leia. I'm just taking him that one step farther to Relic 8 alongside Iden Versio because together they make a very respectable team, and they are great outside of the raid. Iden is phenomenal in Rise of the Empire TB, in GAC, in Territory Wars, really good unit, and she is also the pilot of the phenomenal TIE Defender, which can be used to counter the Leviathan. Super high value team here. So, and like I said, 2.4 million, 2.5 million at a push, really good scores, really useful in every area of the game. Highly recommend this team. Next up, we've got Hera Syndulla and Scout Trooper. Now, this one is where things get a little bit tertiary for me. If you are not pushing for that 13.6 million and you will quite happily settle for the 8.7 million personal reward box, perhaps don't invest quite so heavily into Hera Syndulla as I have here. I did it for a number of reasons. Everybody knows that my Phoenix, I've got a little bit of investment in them. So I didn't mind taking Hera to Relic 8. She's a Relic 5 requirement for the Profundity already. She does have a ship. It is a ship that doesn't really get used anywhere in the game. And I've got stupid levels of Relic investments in my Phoenix, and it's still not a very good ship. But she is used in a combat mission in, I want to say, Phase 5 of Rise of the Empire Tier B. That requires full Relic 8. Now, I don't recommend you relegate Hera and the rest of your Phoenix just for that mission. I don't think there is much value there, but she's still a pretty good team with Captain Rex. So I'm not too bad about this one, but I'm not recommending this one to everyone. Now, the Scout Trooper Army, right now, I cannot, with good conscience, recommend anybody place this Omicron on. I did this for the purpose of a video, and I was able to get marginal improvements of 200,000 to 300,000 points on my Scout Trooper. It's not worth it, ladies and gentlemen. It is not worth throwing that Omicron on. Stay away like the plague. Do not get this Omi, all right? But still, this team gets me about 2.4 million to 2.5 million on a good day. Again, this is with reruns and with remodding. I have another video guide for this one. Check it up in the top right corner. Next up, I wanted to find some use for my Jedi Knight Luke and my Captain Rex. My Captain Rex, as you can see, is Relic 9. You do not need him, Relic 9. That is not the important part for the speeder bike raid. But Jedi Knight Luke with Captain Rex can actually do pretty respectable damage, and it's almost all on full auto. Okay, well, I mean, you start off, you go auto basic essentially till about 50% of the enrage meter is filled. And then you swap it out and you start alternating between the basic and the second special, and you should be able to get about 1.3 million out of this team. You can also throw Chewbacca in this team, but I like to take massive value out of my teams by only having 2 characters for the majority of my runs. And as you can see, I still get really, really respectable scores without having to invest in an additional 6 or 7 Relic 7s and 8s. Next up, I'm using Gideon here. Gideon with C-3PO and Lando. This is where I'm starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel of my roster. These are only at the Relic 5 threshold. Yes, you can use C-3PO. You can throw him in other teams, but I don't feel like he materially improves the score out here, and he can materially improve the score of my Gideon. Okay, so this team here runs exactly the same as all the other item teams. You're using 2 rebel characters to boost up your evasion, whilst the Imperial Trooper just goes ahead of basics with a lot of ramping damage. I did this without even thinking about it, no remodding whatsoever, just went in, scored 1 million out of a potential 1.2 million. Huge value. And we've got 2 more item teams here. We've got Veers, and I'm throwing him with Nisa and Wedge. Again, I could probably just throw Nisa up here, swapping with Lando, and would probably get a higher score with Moff Gideon, but I don't feel like it's massively valuable there either, because we're talking about 100 or 200,000 point difference overall. If that matters to you, then go ahead and do it. So Wedge and Nisa both have a form of getting evasion, but not quite as good as some of the better characters like Akbar and Chirpa, and certainly not like C-3PO. Throwing them in with an Imperial Trooper leader like Veers, you are able to get really respectable scores. 800,000 there out of a possible 900,000. Really, really good value. Same again then with Akbar down there. Sorry, that the Veers one was out of 1.2 million. Apologies. The Akbar one, Akbar is phenomenal. Akbar and Chirpa possibly have some of the best kits in the game for the raid, but I am not going to invest in these guys. They're just not good units, guys. They're not. You can do some work currently with Ewoks, with, you know, a full Relic Ewok team with Princess Nisa using a Princess Nisa Datacron, but I'm not using that as an excuse to Relic 7 or 8 my Ewoks. It's just not going to happen for me. So I will quite happily sacrifice those my overall raid score so that I don't have to have that investment in my roster at this point. If Akbar one day makes a resurgence and has a better capital ship and a better fleet that he can command, then great. But as we stand right now, I'm not going to make an investment based on what could be good in the future. Colonel Stark is there to make use of all of the evasion that Akbar and Chirpa are able to ramp up on. He will deal loads of damage. This one you could basically go in almost on full auto and you will destroy the enemy. Easy 800,000. This more or less is what put me in the position to get 14 million total points within the raid. 14.92 million is what I scored in the last run using those exact teams. I've got guides out for many of them, and I feel like I've made a good use of the investment in my roster without having to waste it on some of the worse characters that are good in the raid, if you know what I mean. I feel like none of the investments that I made for this were bad, but I want to know, what teams have you invested in for the raid? What box are you getting personal reward? What box is your guild getting overall? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe so we can hit 10k subs. I need those 10k subs for my own sanity. I'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.